It was always all or nothing. So it's like, well, I'm going to do this and I have to do it for this long at this level, or it's just not worth it. Yeah. And I've really had to train my mind, or I've been forced into training my mind because, time is a precious resource.
Yeah.
To be able to think, well, actually, I can achieve so much more in 20 minutes. Yeah. And some of the most powerful words I think I've ever used over the last couple of years is, I need help. It's always drilled into us that every minute of our day has to be productive, but actually we can do things without purpose sometimes.
I'm here today with the fabulous Dally. We've got quite a lot of things to talk about. Typically, we've talked about process and customer and social exchange. But I think, Dally, you've got a really different angle. I'm really pleased to have you on board today. Before we kick off, Dally, credentials.
Great, thanks, Harjit. Thanks for having me. So I'm Dally Kaur, Director of Ideas That Work, which is a design, branding, web and marketing agency based in North Leeds. I'm also a top 50 Northern Power Woman award, a future list, one to watch. I guess that's me in a nutshell.
Well, that's great. and a mum.
And a mum, yes.
Okay, so what's your thing? What do you do outside of work to relax?
Outside of work to relax, I'm a busy mum, as you've just mentioned. So a lot of my time is spent chasing my 3-year-old around and doing things with him. But if I really want to switch off, then I've got a love for plastic coloured bricks, also known as Lego. So I tend to build with Lego. I find that it's just when I could just fully escape and concentrate on something and my mind is clear of all the other demands of my life.
So you use it to relax. Do you use it for problem solving?
Well, I guess so, yeah, you could say that, because although a lot of the time I'm building sets which are actual sets, so you follow instructions and you build something, someone's done the problem solving for you, the engineering, the architecture. I do like to free build as well, so I guess that's where problem solving comes into it. A lot of people just see them as plastic coloured bricks as toys, but actually there's a lot of engineering that comes with Lego. You have to make sure structurally things can work. Well, so problem solving is a good one.
You can actually use it to visualise a problem at work and work out a solution. And I attended a lot of courses with a wonderful gentleman called Dr. David Hall. And one of the techniques we learned in our creative problem solving was using Lego problem solving. So I've got a whole bunch of exercises, and I'll share those with you outside of this.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Podcast.
Thank you.
So let's talk about productivity. You've got a different angle. You're an SME. You're a working mum.
We'll go left here, by the way.
You've doubled the size of your business over a period of time. You've survived COVID. There's a lot of things as an SME that you need to consider. And I just want you to talk to me about those things. What are the things that you do to ensure that you're productive in work?
I guess in terms of productivity, that looks different to everyone, doesn't it? And I think for me, aside from the general things that we need in our business to make our business work, which are typical systems, processes, CRM systems, they're the things that enable us to function. But we can only use those things as well as we feel. So productivity really starts with me in terms of my home and how I feel as a person. So if I'm going to use the tools that I have access to at the best that they can be, the number one thing that starts is my well-being. So I need to make sure that I'm really looking after myself in order to do my job properly.
Right, okay. Talk me through the things that you do. So what keeps you sharp? What's keeping you productive?
So my non-negotiable is movement. I have to move my body every single day. So whether that's a walk outdoors preferably, or whether that's some Pilates, whether it's lifting weights, I have to get my body moving. That's a non-negotiable. The other thing that I really focus on, or I notice that my productivity drops, is if I'm not looking after my diet, so what I'm putting into my body.
Okay.
So if I'm eating ultra-processed food, which I don't do often, But if I'm just having, lots of heavy foods and not really mindful about the things I'm eating, not enough water, those things really affect my productivity.
So, look, I talk to people a lot as a coach and also as a friend, and often I hear I don't have time to get to the gym. And what you're saying is actually it's not just about getting to the gym; it's getting out, it's going for a walk. In terms of Pilates, are you then sort of having to go to a gym to do that, or is that something you practice at home?
So I do everything at home now. As we have mentioned, I'm a busy mom, so I've given up my gym membership. It just wasn't working into my lifestyle with my little one. So I do everything at home. My walks are outdoors. And I just try and plan it into my day when I know I have that slot, even if that walk's 20 minutes or that Pilates is 20 minutes.
Okay.
I've stopped putting that pressure on myself. I think I used to always feel like if I was going to work out, it was going to be a full, 1 hour, an hour and a quarter. I had to get it all in or I'm not doing it.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, straight on. Whereas now I can be a bit more flexible in the sense of, okay, I've got 25 minutes, I'll go and do a 15-minute walk.
Okay.
Having a dog makes that easy as well because I have to get him out. I can't just leave him in the house, so that makes things a little easier.
So what's interesting is the fact that you've talked about it being an hour and 15 and then now it's 20.
Yeah.
So there's a I guess a perspective of quality over quantity as well there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I've been in that other mindset. It was always all or nothing. So it's like, well, I'm going to do this and I have to do it for this long at this level or it's just not worth it. Yeah. And I've really had to train my mind, or I've been forced into training my mind because, time is a precious resource.
Yeah.
To be able to think, well, actually, I can achieve so much more in 20 minutes and I can get that done. So I always make sure that I make some time for movement during the day.
That's excellent. And then you talked about diet. So there's a lot of talk about ultra-processed food now. In previous years, I've travelled a lot, flying 3 or 4 flights a week, driving for hours. I'm currently working with a client in the Midlands, and it took me 4 hours to do 128 miles. And at service stations, you're presented with ultra-processed food. In airports, you're presented with ultra-processed foods. So what are your tips around managing the availability of good quality food, and how do you go about avoiding ultra-processed food?
Preparation is key. I prepare my breakfast every night or every day in the morning. I prepare all my lunches. So I tend to prepare for about 3 days at a time. So I just think that's really, really important. And I think you mentioned holidays and airports there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not, I don't live 100% clean life. I try and again, this is something I've had to retrain my own mindset on because I've always been all or nothing. I try and live an 80-20 lifestyle. So like, okay, 80% of the time, I'm going to be really, really mindful and, put things into my body that are seen as good fuel. And 20% of the time, I don't really like to call it naughty food, but I'll indulge in the things that are, that are a bit of a treat.
Yeah, and it's difficult to sustain 100% unless you're totally committed, and you don't waver. But that's very few people. I think you do need to have flexibility.
But then we also run the risk of toxic productivity, don't we? If we don't give ourselves any leeway, then we will ultimately suffer at the end of that, as will the people around us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important point to make. That actually, you've got to have that flexibility and control what you can control.
Yeah.
So that's exercise and diet. What else? What else do you do to work on your productivity?
I think social. Social is really, really important. And that almost becomes the first thing that gives. It's the easy thing to get rid of out of your life when something else is going on. Or that's what I found as well. When we're faced with adversity, the easiest thing to pencil out of our diaries is social time.
Yeah.
I've realised the importance of social time, in particular over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's really important that we keep a close circle and a close network of people around us that we can bounce off, whether that's to do with business, whether that's to do with personal life. I think building in social time, and that looks different for everyone. Yeah. Social time for me isn't going out on a night out till 3-4 in the morning. It could be a nice meal. I love food. So it could be a lovely meal or it could be a lovely walk in the countryside, whatever social looks like.
How do you get that balance right? Because you've got you have got social, which is networking, partners, suppliers, customers, and then you've got family and you've got friends. So there's 3 circles there that you need to manage. So how do you go about managing that?
I think I've learned over the years to not say yes to everything.
Yeah.
So I've always been a yes person, a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Whereas now business is quite easy for me in the sense where I think when you first start off, I took ownership of this business 8 years ago now, and you say there's a tendency to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was wrong. It was probably right at the time while I built my network, built my business. But as you get older and as you grow and as your business evolves and you change as well as a person, I think you have to ask yourself some questions when you're committing to business things. You think, is it something that can add value to my life? Is it something where I can add value?
Yeah.
Answers those 2 questions, great, I'm up for it. I'm not really, and I'm quite strict on that now. And again, that's become more so since I've become a mum, because time is so precious that I have to be really strict with my time, and I have to set clear boundaries in place. And I know what would happen is I'll end up being, if I say yes to everything, I end up being overworked at the risk of burnout, and then I'm no good to anyone.
So, maybe a difficult question, but so you're a high performer, you look after yourself, you've grown your business, you exercise, you have a clean diet. How does that rub off onto your team and the people that work for you?
I always put well-being at the start of everything. Okay. So if we're having a team meeting in the morning, the first thing that we'll talk about is there anything anyone wants to get off their chest today?
Yeah.
How can we start the day in a really positive way? So we'll start the day with like positive affirmations, positive quotes, or just offloading, especially if it's like the start of the week, so we haven't seen each other for a couple of days. Let's just get everything off our chests.
Right.
And, just get it all out and just coach each other through it, basically.
Brilliant. So you have a daily huddle?
Every single day, yeah.
And you do some... So one of the things we often talk about is setting the right state of mind.
Yeah.
So positive affirmations is setting the right state of mind for your team. It gives you some shared values as well.
Yeah, it does. But, I'm not one that will always pretend that everything's amazing in business and life all the time and pretend that everything's so positive. Yeah. I've been faced with my fair share of adversity over the last couple of years, and it really isn't. And, sometimes we're not productive all the time, and sometimes you do turn to fast food, and you do, your health does sort of suffer because of things that your life's hit with, and that's okay and that's normal. Yeah. I don't want to paint this false picture that everything's always so great and you can fit in all your exercise, fit in your meal prep, because it's not like that. But I think it's learning to give ourselves grace as well through those times.
Okay. So tell me about resilience. How do you manage the challenges and the difficult times?
I think I've always been naturally someone who I don't dwell on challenges. I lean into challenges.
Yeah.
So I always ask myself, right, there's a lesson in this. What can I learn from it? What can I take from it? What am I being taught here? So I think when you lean into your challenges and don't bury your head in the sand, don't try and avoid them, pretend that everything's okay all the time, I think that's quite dangerous territory. Whereas I think if you can sometimes just sit back and say, things are just not that good anymore. And some of the most powerful words I think I've ever used over the last couple of years is, I need help.
Okay.
Because I'm someone I would just carry on. I would crack on, so to speak. And then I'd be at the risk of burnout. But I've learned over the last couple of years the power of those words, I need help. And that could be, I need help with this project.
Yep.
I need to just bounce some ideas off someone. I need to just tell someone that actually this is really challenging what I'm going through, and I need some outside eyes looking in.
Yep.
That help could be in any sort of form. I need help. I need help with meal prep. I need help with cooking and cleaning. It could be any of these things, but I'm someone who's naturally never ever asked for help. I just think I can do it all.
There's a phrase I use. It's a little bit corny, but I do use it, which is, when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture.
Yes.
And it's really important to get that external perspective.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how few people have coaches. Now, in corporates, the word coaching is used. I'm not sure if they all do particularly well, but they bring in external coaches. And in an SME environment, it's really tough.
It is tough because it's about the financial investment.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most powerful things I've ever had in my, business. I've probably used one for the space of maybe 5 years now.
Okay.
Maybe not consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently for about a couple of years, and then I dip in and out when I feel like there's big change or transition happening in my business.
Yeah.
I'll always touch base and have that, because it's really difficult as a business owner.
And can you correlate that coaching to ROI?
I think in terms of, I would definitely say so. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep coming back.
Yeah.
The clarity it gives me is, that's immeasurable, to be honest. It gives me clarity and confidence more than anything else. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. So, if we've got somebody listening and they're saying, "Oh, that's great, but I don't know where to start," what are the 2 or 3 things people can do starting tomorrow to help put in place some of the things that you've talked about?
Look, I think it's quite clear, through our chat, that productivity for me really starts with the person and their well-being. So I think number 1, is get outside and get moving. Yeah. However you can, however it's accessible to you, whether that's a walk, whatever that might be. Getting that daylight is really, really important, and getting your body moving is so important. Yeah. And if you can do that in the morning, even better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does set the scene for the day, I think.
Okay.
So that's number 1, getting moving, getting daylight. I think number 2 would be, feed your body well. We have one. Stay hydrated. I do notice it. If I don't have enough water, brain fog starts. Your tools can only be productive if you're productive, right? If you know how to use them, and if you're well enough to use them. So stay hydrated, I would say number 2. And then number 3, I would say, think about your interests outside of work.
Yeah.
Do things without purpose. Because I think even with that walk, and I was this person, I'm going on a walk, let me listen to this podcast. I'll probably be listening to you. But now I walk with intention. I think, let's put the headphones away, and I'm just going to listen to the birds, or the sounds of the cars, or the leaves rustling in the wind at this beautiful time, autumn sun we've got today. So I think, do things without purpose. We don't have to, it's always drilled into us that every minute of our day has to be productive. But actually, we can do things without purpose sometimes. We can live intentionally. That's
such an important point. What I notice now, because I travel a lot, if I'm in a queue, getting a coffee or whatever I'd like to eat, people are on the phones. And, we're just not pondering.
No.
And great thoughts and great creativity come from pondering. As you say, going for a walk without purpose, without, listening to a podcast, being able to relax, being in the moment is vital, isn't it, for your well-being?
Absolutely. I feel that I get so much mental clarity when I walk without my headphones in. I'm faced with actually having to face things going on in my life, whereas when we put our headphones in, we can drown out of that, right? It's about that burying your head in the sand. We're not intentionally trying to do that, but it just happens.
Yeah.
Whereas if we don't have our headphones in, we're just with our own thoughts, we're with nothing else, and that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important, that we do things without purpose.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Dally. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks.
Performance activity, like business electricity, we're so soon